Have you ever felt that you were not alone in your Minecraft world? In the silent halls of an abandoned mine, or the eerie stillness of a foggy forest, many players have reported a chilling sight: a lone figure at the edge of render distance, white eyes glowing from the darkness. That figure is Herobrine, the ghostly legend who has haunted Minecraft's community for over a decade. Who is Herobrine? Really? Is he a vengeful spirit, a glitch in the code, a figment of our imagination, or something far more mysterious? This is the enigma that keeps fans obsessed and coming back for more. Herobrine's mystery from the earliest days of Minecraft. The tale of Herobrine has been told in whispers among players. What began as a single eerie screenshot and story in 2010 ignited a wildfire of speculation. A player on the forums claimed to see Herobrine and had their post mysteriously deleted, and a streamer staged a fake encounter that left thousands spooked. In those early days, fact and fiction blurred as the community breathlessly traded tales. Officially, the game's developers insist he has never existed in the game's code. In fact, Mojang began inserting the tongue-in-cheek patch note, "Removed Herobrine," in update after update, a wink to the community acknowledging the legend. Yet despite these assurances, millions of players swear they've seen him. They share stories of seeing someone who isn't supposed to be there. A ghost player with empty white eyes who stalks them from afar, leaves strange structures in the world, and vanishes before they can get a closer look. The mystery of Herobrine isn't just a game of hide and seek. It's become a modern myth. Herobrine's classic form, identical to the default Minecraft character Steve, but with ghostly white eyes. This simple, unimposing appearance is exactly what makes him so eerie. It's like looking at an empty-eyed version of the player. Seeing this figure in the distance, as many players have claimed to, is enough to send shivers down anyone's spine. The obsession. Why do so many hold on to the belief in Herobrine? Perhaps it's the primal thrill of the unknown. Minecraft can be a lonely game, just you against an endless world. The idea that something else might be out there in the darkness is both terrifying and thrilling. Herobrine embodies that feeling. The ancient evil hidden in plain sight. The watcher in the shadows. He is a blank canvas for our fears and curiosities. Over the years, fans have crafted elaborate theories to explain Herobrine's existence, each more mind-bending than the last. These theories range from quirky and imaginative to downright chilling and deeply tragic. What lies ahead? In this exploration, we will delve into the most fascinating Herobrine lore and fan theories that challenge everything we think we know about this infamous character. We'll consider possibilities that will make you question your own perceptions. What if he's all in our head? Journey through dark digital folklore. Could Herobrine be a virus lurking in the code? And wander into the realm of ghosts and demons? Is he the restless spirit of a lost miner, or an ancient evil from Minecraft's earliest days? We'll even confront theories that turn the entire story upside down, suggesting Herobrine might be a misunderstood guardian, or even a twisted reflection of the player themselves. Prepare yourself for a documentary-style deep dive into Herobrine's mythic saga. Each theory we uncover will be backed by in-game clues, fan-created lore, and the emotional threads that tie it all together: redemption, destiny, betrayal, and the enduring power of legend. By the end, you may not have a definitive answer to who or what Herobrine is, but you'll understand why this legend remains eternally captivating. The journey begins with a simple question. Could it all have been in our minds? What if it's all in your head? The hallucination theory. One of the most straightforward yet thought-provoking explanations for Herobrine is that he doesn't exist at all, at least not outside the human mind. According to this theory, every sighting of Herobrine is merely a hallucination caused by the player's own paranoia. Could it be that the real ghost haunting Minecraft is our imagination? Think about the atmosphere of Minecraft. You're alone in a vast, quiet world, mining in a deep cave or exploring a dark forest. The only sounds are your footsteps and the occasional eerie cave echo. Our brains are wired to find patterns and faces in randomness, a phenomenon known as pareidolia. especially in darkness. This trait is left over from ancient times when noticing a lurking predator could mean life or death. In Minecraft's solitude, it's all too easy for the mind to play a trick. A flicker of a torch or an oddly placed block might suddenly look like a pair of white eyes in the distance. The longer you play alone, the more your mind fills the silence with its own stories. The paranoia feedback loop. The legend of Herobrine itself can seed these imaginings, creating a kind of mass hysteria or shared delusion. Once you've heard the creepy tales of a ghostly miner, every unexplained noise or weird occurrence in the game can set your heart pounding. Did that leaf just decay on its own? Or was it him? Was that a sheep on the hill? Or a human shape watching you? The more you worry, the more likely you are to see Herobrine's shadow where nothing exists. In other words, we create Herobrine by believing in him. There is even an eerie meta-story that circulated in the community playing on this idea. In one hoax, a hidden webpage called Ghost in the Stream presented a scrambled message about victims of torture retreating into a fantasy world, unable to wake up. The message ominously implored the reader to wake up, implying that perhaps our entire Minecraft adventure, including Herobrine, could be a dream or illusion. While this was part of a staged scare and not an official story, it tapped into the same psychological terror, the idea that Herobrine's hauntings might actually be coming from inside the player's own mind. Evidence or lack thereof. Supporters of the hallucination theory point to the complete lack of code or files referencing Herobrine in unmodded Minecraft. Not a single texture, sound, or line of code bears his name. If Herobrine isn't programmed into the game, then seeing him must mean something unusual is happening in the player's perception. It would also explain why screenshots and videos of Herobrine encounters are often grainy or inconclusive, much like photos of supposed real-world ghosts or big. When you're scared and expecting to see a myth, your mind can fill in the blanks, and you might earnestly believe you saw Herobrine in the static of the fog. Emotional aftermath. If Herobrine is a creation of our own fear and loneliness, that in itself is a profound takeaway. It means the legend holds up a mirror to the player. Minecraft is a game about creativity and exploration, but also about isolation. The hallucination theory suggests that Herobrine is how the loneliness in the game talks back to us. It's the part of our brain that whispers, "What if you're not alone?" given a name and form. In a sense, Herobrine could be viewed as a kind of digital tulpa, a being brought to life by collective imagination. Millions of players believing in Herobrine almost will him into existence within their own minds, each sighting reinforcing the next. This theory reframes Herobrine not as an external threat, but as an internal one. The horror here isn't a ghost in the machine. It's the idea that our minds can conjure nightmares and impose them on reality. It's a quiet psychological horror, a reminder that sometimes the scariest monster is the one your mind creates when left in the dark. Yet as logical as the hallucination explanation might be, it's not enough for many. The stories and experiences players share can feel far too specific, too consistent to write off as mere imagination. Perhaps there is something more going on, if not a literal ghost, then maybe a digital phantom. Let's step away from psychology and into the circuits of the game itself. What if Herobrine lives not in our heads, but in the code? Ghost in the machine, the glitch or virus theory. Imagine for a moment that Herobrine isn't a spirit of a human at all, but a spirit of the game, a phantom born from bits and bytes. The glitch or virus theory proposes that Herobrine's legend began with a bug in the software or a malicious code injection that took on a life of its own. Could a game glitch manifest as a ghostly figure, shaping the world and terrifying players? This theory finds footing in the way Herobrine behaves. He's often said to manipulate the environment, digging tunnels, chopping leaves off trees, placing odd constructions, much like a rogue program might. Some have pointed out that in Minecraft's early days, there actually was an unused mob, non-player character in the code, a human NPC that Notch was testing, which would simply walk around. The human mob was removed in alpha, but what if echoes of it remained, glitched into appearing as a white-eyed ghost? Notably, the first time Mojang added removed Herobrine to patch notes 6, it coincided with them stripping out the last remnants of the old human mob code. In other words, the developers themselves joked that removing a ghost code in the machine was like exorcising Herobrine. In a sense, Herobrine could be a digital zombie, a piece of code that wasn't fully deleted, wandering the world independently. The virus hypothesis. Another twist on this theory is that Herobrine was never an accident at all, but a virus planted by someone with an agenda. According to one popular creepypasta-style narrative, a disgruntled ex-Mojang employee, or a mysterious hacker, coded a virus into Minecraft known as Entity 3L3, intended to recap while Entity 3L3 became its own separate legend. Its story shows the community's willingness to believe that evil code could lurk in our games. Herobrine, some suggest, might be a similar virus, perhaps not designed to destroy Minecraft, but to haunt it. Under this scenario, every time Mojang writes, "removed Herobrine" in the patch notes, it's a sly acknowledgement of an ongoing battle. The developers find the virus and scrub it out, but it keeps coming back. It's almost as if Herobrine is fighting to stay in the game, defying the creators themselves. If that sounds far-fetched, consider how intelligent Herobrine seems in stories. He reacts to players, even sending them messages or signs. A hallucination can't send a private message telling you stop, but a hacker or an AI-driven virus could. In the original account, after the player's forum post about Herobrine was deleted, they received a one-word private email from the username Herobrine that said stop. That implies communication through the system. A virus theory neatly fits this detail. Maybe some malicious code was deleting forum posts about it and sending warnings to keep itself secret. In-universe mechanics. Technically, a virus inside Minecraft could alter your game files or chat messages, though it would be a major security breach. There's no confirmed case of such a thing in Minecraft's history, but players have encountered world-breaking bugs and creepy glitches many times. Think of the infamous Farlands, the bizarre distorted terrain at the edge of Minecraft's old world generation. One could imagine something like Herobrine originating from those depths of glitchiness, a being from beyond the boundary of the world, or recall times when multiplayer servers have bugged, showing ghost players online or entities that aren't really there. Could Herobrine be an amalgamation of such digital hiccups given a single frightening identity? Supporting evidence. Fans in favor of the glitch theory often cite the consistency of Herobrine's reported behaviors. Unlike a purely random hallucination, Herobrine sightings tend to include the same details: distant staring, disappearing, creations like perfect pyramids or tunnels. It's almost like he's following a program. Early modders even embraced this idea when the first Herobrine fan mod was made. It gave Herobrine exactly those abilities to place weird structures, dig tunnels, stalk players, and even teleport behind them unexpected. The mod was mimicking the myth. But what if the myth was originally born from an actual glitch that did those things? Could a memory leak or a bug in terrain generation have caused those sand pyramids and oceans that players found, which then got attributed to Herobrine? Moreover, the virus theory touches on one of the most mythic themes in modern life: the idea of an AI or program becoming self-aware. It's a very Tron-like concept, a digital ghost with its own will. If Herobrine were a virus, over time the community has imbued him with a personality, cunning, malevolent, and playful in a dark way. We'd be talking about a rogue AI that enjoys scaring people, effectively a poltergeist living in the code. That's a chilling thought. A being with no physical form that can tamper with your game, your world, even your communications, all while you can't touch it. Emotional consequences. The glitch virus theory reframes Herobrine's story as man versus technology. It's no longer a ghost story, but a science fiction horror. If true, it paints Minecraft's world as not just a sandbox, but a haunted system. The emotional weight here comes from a sense of powerlessness and paranoia in a different flavor. Not fear of your own mind, but fear that the very technology you trust to relax and play might harbor something sinister. It's the dread of a friendly space, your cozy Minecraft world, being infected by an unseen menace. It also introduces the theme of manipulation. Herobrine as a virus is manipulating the game, and by extension the player. He's toying with you for his own amusement or goals, like a puppeteer tugging strings from behind the screen. This theory challenges us to consider the boundaries of the game. We like to think we control our world in Minecraft, but if Herobrine is a virus, he is in control whenever he appears. It's the classic ghost in the machine scenario, the idea that something could be lurking in the technology that we don't fully understand. And when we think of it that way, Herobrine becomes not just a Minecraft legend, but a cautionary tale about the unpredictability of complex systems. It leaves us with an unsettling question. If a game as cheerful as Minecraft can have a dark side hidden in its code, what about the rest of our digital life? Of course, not everyone is convinced that Herobrine can be explained away by code or neurons alone. There is a hunger among fans for an explanation that dives fully into the lore of the Minecraft world itself. To many, Herobrine feels too real within the game's universe to be just an illusion or a glitch. What if, they propose, Herobrine is exactly what he appears to be? The spirit of someone who met a terrible fate, now haunting the pixelated realm. A fallen brother's spirit, the ghost of the miner. In the flicker of torchlight deep underground, you find an abandoned mineshaft. Wooden support beams creak, and cobwebs stretch across forgotten corridors. Who built these tunnels? Why were they left empty? One compelling theory answers. Herobrine. Perhaps he was once a miner, a real person in Minecraft's past, who died tragically, and now roams the world as an undead. In fact, the earliest widespread Herobrine story explicitly described him as the deceased brother of Notch, Minecraft's original creator. While Notch has no brother in real life, he quickly debunked that part. The idea what if Herobrine is the ghost of a fallen miner, forever bound to this digital land? The classic creepypasta. The first Herobrine sightings recount a player seeing another character with the default skin, but his eyes were empty in their single-player world. This mysterious figure would watch from afar and was responsible for strange, out-of-place constructions. Players often cite specific signs of Herobrine's presence: perfect pyramids of sand erected in the middle of the ocean, long 2x2 block tunnels bored neatly through mountains or underground, trees missing all their leaves, as if something silently sheared them bare, redstone torches mysteriously placed in caves, or mine shafts where the player never placed them, animals with pure white eyes, or natural behavior. In some stories, Herobrine can possess mobs. These oddities have rational explanations, random world generation quirks or pranks, but in the Herobrine lore, they're like the calling cards of the ghostly miner. These are the hallmark signs of Herobrine's presence, according to legend. The first known photograph of Herobrine, a 2010 screenshot posted by a player to prove his encounter. In the image, taken in Alpha v1.6 in 02, a tiny human shape with white eyes stands in the fog. Bottom left, this grainy evidence was enough to spark the imaginations of an entire community. The story details an encounter in Minecraft with a nameless human entity in a single-player world who displayed strange behavior, stalking the player from afar, creating those unnatural constructions like sand pyramids and 2x2 tunnels, and removing leaves from trees. The writer then attempted to start a topic about the encounter on the Minecraft forum, only to have it be repeatedly deleted, followed by a private message from a seemingly non-existent user named Herobrine, telling them to stop. The 4chan post also contained a screenshot of the encounter, showing Herobrine in the distance amidst the fog. This little story was the spark that ignited the wildfire of Herobrine's mythos, and at its heart was a ghost story, a lost soul in the machine. Why a miner? Look around Minecraft's world at the evidence of those who came before. Abandoned mineshafts with precious loot left behind, strongholds buried deep with libraries and portals. Even Disc 13 and 11. Those creepy broken recordings that sound like someone running through caves and facing something horrific. The ghost theory takes all these in-game curiosities and connects them. Perhaps these structures were built by an ancient civilization of miners and builders, often called the Ancient Builders by theorists. They dug too deep or unleashed something off. One miner could have met a particularly gruesome end, maybe getting lost alone in the dark or betrayed by his comrades when monsters attacked. That miner's spirit, full of rage and sorrow, might linger and become Herobrine. Fans note how Herobrine's preferred hangouts match this idea. Caves, mines, forests, for wood, places a lone miner might have been during life. The most popular community explanation is indeed that Herobrine is a ghost, specifically of a dead miner killed long before the player's arrival by an unknown force, implied to be a hostile mob or something even worse. Most versions of this explanation portray Herobrine as vengeful and consumed by a burning rage as a result of his death, taking it out on innocent people to satisfy his anger. This paints a picture of a man who suffered horribly. Imagine being deep underground, hearing the hiss of a creeper or the rattle of a skeleton, the cave collapsing on you, and now in death, that man is consumed by vengeance. He cannot rest, so he wanders the world, doing to others what was done to him. It's a tragic cycle. Herobrine inflicts on the living the very fear and destruction that caused his own demise. It would also explain why Herobrine is commonly spotted in caves and mine shafts and why those places are abandoned in the first place. Whoever built them never came back out. This explanation is the basis of many interpretations that even show Herobrine wielding a pickaxe as a weapon, a nod to his former life as a miner. It's speculated by some fans that Herobrine is connected to the hidden story found in music discs 1 and 13, imagining that the noises of someone fleeing and meeting a grim end on those discs are the last moments of the very miner who became Herobrine. Even the presence of zombies in Minecraft lore could be seen in a new light. Zombies are essentially undead Steves wearing the same clothes. Could they be other miners who died and reanimated mindless? If so, Herobrine would be a special case, an undead with his intelligence and will intact, which is even scarier. He could even be controlling these lesser undead, leading them as their master. We'll delve more into Herobrine as a mob leader later. In what of Notch's brother comment in an alternate interpretation, maybe Herobrine isn't literally Notch's sibling, but we can imagine him as a symbolic brother to the player's character, Steve. Perhaps Steve and Herobrine were both part of that ancient builder society. Steve is the one who lived or respawned anew in each world, while Herobrine is the one who died and became something twisted. They're two sides of the same coin, one living, one dead, one with light in his eyes, one with darkness. That could explain why Herobrine looks exactly like Steve from a distance. He was essentially Steve before tragedy struck. One theory even posits that Steve and Herobrine are actual brothers, and Herobrine's death by some dark force is what spurred Steve to become the tireless survivor we play as, always moving and building to avoid the same fate. This isn't official lore, of course, but it's the kind of rich storytelling that the community has woven to give emotional weight to Herobrine. Emotional and narrative impact. The ghost of a miner theory casts Herobrine in a tragic light. Yes, he's terrifying, but also pitiable. He's a man out of time, stuck in a world that has moved on without him. His destiny is twisted. Perhaps he was once destined to be a hero, or at least live peacefully. But something, a creeper, a betrayal, an experiment gone wrong, cursed him to eternal unrest. Now he's like a character from mythology. Think of the Flying Dutchman, a ghost ship, doomed to sail forever, or revenants in folklore who seek revenge for wrongs done to them. Herobrine becomes a cautionary tale. Don't dig too greedily and too deep, or you might end up like him. This theory also reframes how players see certain game elements. The next time you walk through an abandoned mine, you might wonder if those eerie cave noises include a whisper from Herobrine. The next time you find a perfectly cut tunnel, or a lonely shack in the woods, built by another player or generated by the world, you might shiver thinking it was his handiwork. It injects a sense of history and continuity into Minecraft's otherwise player-driven narrative. Suddenly, you, the player, are not the first or only protagonist of this world. There was someone before you, whose story ended in heartbreak and horror, and who might still be there, watching. In a way, believing Herobrine is a ghost gives a kind of meaning to all those lonely landscapes. It personifies the memory of the world. Instead of random terrain, those mine shafts become tombs. Those strange occurrences become messages. And if you believe this theory, then every encounter with Herobrine is a chance not just to be scared, but maybe to empathize. Do you run from him? Or do you try to set him free? Some adventurous players have even staged funerals or built memorials for Herobrine in their worlds, an attempt to put his spirit to rest, role-playing the idea that maybe all he wants is peace. But not all ghost stories are tales of vengeance. Some are tales of guardianship, a spirit sticking around to protect something important. This leads us to another interpretation that flips Herobrine's role from malevolent spectre to a potentially benevolent, or at least protective force. Could it be that Herobrine is not the villain of Minecraft's story, but a tragic guardian angel, guardian or trickster? Herobrine the Watcher in the shadows. Not all who wander are lost, and not all who haunt are malicious. A bold reimagining of Herobrine's role in Minecraft lore casts him not as a villain but as a grim guardian or trickster figure. In this theory, Herobrine is watching from the shadows, not to grief or murder out of spite, but to protect or test the player, the world, or perhaps something hidden within it. It sounds counterintuitive at first. Why would a helper scare us half to death? But mythology is filled with guardians who appear terrifying to test the worthy, and trickster spirits who do unsettling things for a greater purpose. Could Herobrine be a necessary evil, a caretaker of the realm who uses fear as his tool, re-examining his actions? Let's revisit some classic Herobrine behaviors through a different lens. He digs long tunnels and carves out strange patterns. Why? Perhaps he's mining resources, or creating paths to steer the player away from danger, or towards something important. He removes leaves from trees. What if that's to mark a trail or signal that someone has been here before, sparing you the surprise of encountering monsters in dense foliage? Those sand pyramids in the ocean, which seem so unnatural, could they be intentional markers, like beacons, guiding lost sailors? In a hostile world full of creepers and lava pits, these odd constructions might be breadcrumbs meant to either warn or guide. The key is perspective. Something that looks wrong at first glance, like leafless trees, might have a purpose, perhaps indicating an area already scavenged for wood, so the player doesn't waste time. Even Herobrine's unnerving tendency to watch from afar can be seen different. True, it's spooky to realize you're being observed, but consider he never immediately attacks in the original lore. He just vanishes when spotted. If he were purely malevolent, wouldn't he strike when you're vulnerable? Instead, he keeps his distance like a ranger, keeping an eye on a traveler from the tree line. And that private message stopped that the original player received after trying to spread word of Herobrine. Maybe it wasn't a threat to silence them, but a warning. Stop digging into this. Stop delving deeper. You're not ready for the truth. It's ambiguous, but it opens the possibility that Herobrine's goal was to protect a secret or prevent panic, rather than simply shut the player up for evil reasons. A morally dubious protector. Even Minecraft's creator, Notch, once whimsically described Herobrine as a morally dubious ghost with a god complex. This intriguing phrase suggests an entity that believes he's doing right, even if his methods are extreme or his morality alien to us. In many fan portrayals, Herobrine behaves somewhat like a deity of the Minecraft world, and not a purely evil one, more like a stern, unforgiving god who demands respect. It's possible to imagine Herobrine as a self-appointed warden of Minecraft. With his god complex, he might view players as trespassers or mischievous children in his domain. When we build in Mine, we are effectively altering the world's fabric. Perhaps Herobrine monitors that, intervening when we go too far. For example, picture a player who is recklessly burning forests, or slaughtering every animal. Suddenly they might start finding signs of Herobrine, a distant glimpse here, a carved message on a sign there, as if to say, I see what you're doing, this land is not yours to ruin. Some players have reported, often via mods or staged videos, that Herobrine would leave signs with ominous phrases, like only God can save you now. In a non-malicious context, that could be interpreted as, I, Herobrine, am judging. It's a very Old Testament style of guardianship, vengeful and fearsome, but meant to enforce a moral code or balance. The hidden hero theory. Some fan stories even depict Herobrine as a secret savior. There are tales, admittedly anecdotal and likely scripted, of Herobrine appearing to save a player from a surprise creeper, or leading a lost player back to their base by placing torches. What if those weren't just story? Imagine you're hopelessly lost underground with no torches left. In the distance you notice a faint light. Following it, you find a trail of redstone torches that mysteriously lead you up to the surface. At the end of the trail, on the trunk of a tree, a single sign, "You're welcome." Some would attribute that to another player's prank, or a mod, but believers might say Herobrine did a good deed. After all, a true monster would sooner watch you die in the dark than guide you out. One community member mused that Herobrine might be the soul of Minecraft itself, appearing when the world is in distress. Perhaps when a chunk error or bug threatens a player's save, Herobrine steps in symbolic. It's a more meta kind of guardianship. The idea that the game doesn't want you to break it, so it scares you off from doing things that might corrupt your world file or spoil the fun. While not a literal in-lore interpretation, it aligns with Herobrine's godlike protector of secrets. Minecraft's world has many secrets, strongholds leading to the end, mansions filled with lore hints, the Farlands glitch far away, etc. Some theorists propose that Herobrine's duty is to guard these secrets until the player is worthy. He might test players who get too close to certain milestones. For instance, you might see Herobrine more frequently just before you find a stronghold, almost as an omen. There's a fan-made mini-lore that Herobrine was tasked with preventing unprepared souls from unleashing the Ender Dragon. In that story, Herobrine failed. Players inevitably reached the end. The dragon was slain by the player, and now Herobrine's purpose has shifted to watching the Wither, another destructive force that players can bring into the world. This is of course all speculative fan fiction, but it demonstrates how fans assign Herobrine a purpose. He's there for a reason, not just to scare. Trickster mentor. Another angle casts Herobrine as a sort of trickster teacher. Tricksters in myth, like Loki or Anansi or Hermes, often teach lessons through pranks or challenges. A Minecraft equivalent would be Herobrine doing things to the player that seem cruel but teach them the game. For example, maybe you are being careless and not lighting your mines. Herobrine spawns a bunch of zombies to ambush you, a harsh lesson that you should place torches, or you leave your doors open at night. Herobrine removes the doors entirely, forcing you to confront your vulnerability. One could say the game itself already does this. Mobs punish you for bad practices, but attributing it to Herobrine personifies the world's corrective tendencies. In this sense, Herobrine could be seen as the spirit of hardcore mode. In Minecraft Hardcore, the stakes are high, and the world punishes mistakes with death and deletion. Herobrine as a mentor or guardian might push players toward the same careful, respectful playstyle even in normal mode by scaring them straight, so to speak. Respect the world or suffer could be his silent mantra. Emotional depth. Portraying Herobrine as a guardian or necessary evil adds a layer of moral ambiguity to the story. It transforms him from a one-dimensional boogeyman into a character with potentially noble intentions executed in a harsh manner. There's a bit of betrayal in this interpretation too, but of a different kind. Players feel betrayed because the protector they didn't know they had is scaring them. It's like a strict parent figure watching over an oblivious child who just wants to play. The player might cry, "Why are you doing this? I'm just mining." And Herobrine's stance would be, "It's for your own good, you just can't see it yet." This raises interesting destiny narratives. Perhaps Steve the player is destined to inherit the role of protector someday, and Herobrine is grooming him through adversity. Or maybe Herobrine was the previous hero who already fulfilled that destiny and is now stuck with an eternal job of keeping the world intact, secretly hoping the player will one day relieve him of this duty. That could turn the final confrontation with Herobrine into something more poignant. Not a battle to destroy evil, but a passing of the torch from an old guardian to a new one. In a hypothetical story, Defeating Herobrine might not mean killing him, but rather earning his acknowledgement that you, the player, can protect the world on your own now. At that point, maybe he could finally rest, much like the ghost theory, but with a noble twist. Legends and prophecies. Fans indulging this idea sometimes joke about a prophecy in Minecraft, entirely fan-made of course, in which a chosen one with the eyes of a dragon will tame the one with eyes of white. The eyes of a dragon could refer to the Ender Dragon's eye, or the Ender eyes you gather to reach the stronghold, implying that once a player conquers the dragon, proves their worth, they will be able to confront Herobrine, the one with eyes of white, and perhaps turn him from adversary to ally. It's a playful bit of fan poetry, but it shows how the community sometimes likes to mix Herobrine into the heroic journey of Minecraft. It elevates the game's goal, normally beat the Ender Dragon, win the game, to a grander saga where Herobrine is an endgame boss, or even a hidden final chapter. Under the Guardian theory, if Herobrine were ever to be officially acknowledged, imagine one day Mojang sneaks in a secret boss fight. It might be as a reluctant fight. He's testing the player one last time, and upon defeat, maybe he'd utter something cryptic like, "The balance is yours to keep now," and vanish in peace. It's almost tender in a way, turning the feared demon into a weary protector who can finally let go. In essence, this theory asks us to consider motive when we think of Herobrine. It challenges the knee-jerk assumption that Herobrine is a villain. Instead, it posits him as a complex figure with his own agenda that isn't purely evil. For players, this is a thought experiment that can make encountering anything Herobrine-like, be it a glitch or a mod, feel less like a horror show and more like engaging with a mysterious ally enemy. It adds depth. You might find yourself yelling, "What do you want from me?" into the dark when you see those white eyes, instead of simply running. It turns Herobrine into a character you could potentially communicate or reason with, however futile that might be, rather than a simple jump scare. Naturally, not everyone likes to imagine the big scary Herobrine. A secretly good, the majority of fan lore still loves him as the villain. That brings us to an opposing view, a theory that leans in the complete opposite direction, painting Herobrine not as a guardian angel, but as a man-made demon. If Herobrine isn't protecting the world from us, maybe we created him through our own hubris. Enter the Illager experiment theory, where the true monsters are not zombies or dragons, but villagers gone bad, and Herobrine is their Frankenstein-like creation engineered by evil. The Illager experiment. Our next theory shifts the focus from supernatural to supernatural science. The twisted experiments of Minecraft's ill-famed Illagers. The Illagers evokers, vindicators and their kin, are known in Minecraft as outcast villagers who turn to dark arts. They live in ominous woodland mansions, conducting bizarre experiments and hoarding treasures. Some fans theorize that Herobrine is one of their creations, a kind of golem or undead soldier, bred to serve their nefarious purpose. In other words, what if Herobrine was not originally a ghost or a virus, but a manufactured being, the result of an occult experiment gone horribly right or wrong? The clues in the mansion. Woodland mansions hold a particular Easter egg that feeds directly into this theory. In some mansion rooms you can find a secret chamber where Illagers have built a large statue of Steve entirely out of wool. The statue's design features the same turquoise shirt and blue pants as the player character, using light and dark blue wool blocks. This alone is eerie. Why are these ill-willed villagers building an effigy of us, the players? Now consider the items Illagers possess, notably the Totem of Undying, a magical totem that can prevent death. They drop these totems when killed, implying they know how to harness life and death in unnatural ways. They drop these totems when killed, implying they know how to harness life and death in unnatural ways. The Illager experiment theory posits that the Illagers attempted to create their own Steve, perhaps envious of the player's power to build and fight, or desperate to have a champion of their own against the villagers and golems. They stitched together this effigy as a focal point for a dark ritual. Using the Totem of Undying, maybe several of them, they could try to spark life into the inanimate wool figure. The result: Herobrine, a warped mirror of Steve, imbued with unholy light. In one version of the story making community rounds, an evoker, The Illager sorcerer performed a forbidden rite during a thunderstorm at midnight. Lightning struck the mansion, much like how Frankenstein's monster was born under lightning, and the woolen statue opened its eyes, now glowing white. The creature stepped off its pedestal. The Illager's artificial human had come alive, but something was terribly off. Perhaps the revival went too far, bringing not just life, but a soul from beyond. The newborn Herobrine might have immediately turned on its creators, or simply vanished into the night, becoming a rogue agent of chaos in the world. Rogue or servant, this theory leaves open two possibilities. Either Herobrine still serves the Illagers, or he escaped their control. If he's a servant, then many of his actions could be on the Illagers' behalf. Consider that Illagers hate normal villagers, and by extension the players who protect them. A Herobrine under Illager command would target players, causing fear and confusion among their ranks, which aligns with most Herobrine encounters being frightening but not outright lethal. He could also be sabotaging player builds, removing leaves, digging tunnels under bases, to weaken us for when the Illagers mount an attack. In a sense, Herobrine would be the Illagers' spy or saboteur, softening the world for their eventual takeover. On the other hand, if Herobrine went rogue, his creators would be just as terrified of him as players are. Perhaps that's why woodland mansions are sparsely populated despite their size. Maybe some rooms are mysteriously destroyed or empty, as if something rampaged through them. Imagine an Illager conjuring Herobrine, expecting to control him, only to have those glowing eyes turn and fix on them. Instead, Herobrine could have slaughtered his makers, which is why the mansions stand quiet, with only a few Illagers remaining, scratching their heads at what they unleashed. In this scenario, Herobrine now roams free with no master, his original purpose lost. That would make him an independent evil, or force of chaos, one born from human, villager, arrogance. Mythic parallels. The Illager creation theory has clear echoes of Mary Shelley's Frankenstein. We have creators Illagers, who dabble in godlike territory by creating life, and a creation Herobrine, who potentially rebels against that role. It also echoes the golem legend from Jewish folklore, a man-made being brought to life through rituals. In those stories, golems are often protectors that can run amok if not properly controlled. Here, the Illagers perhaps intended Herobrine to be their protector, or weapon. Did they succeed too well? Perhaps they gave him too much free will, or hunger for something, souls, vengeance, knowledge that they couldn't satisfy. Also consider the piglins of the Nether. They can zombify in the overworld, turning into zombified piglins, formerly zombie pigmen. The Illagers might have studied such phenomena, life from death, transformations. Evokers also have a spell that magically turns blue sheep red as a playful Easter egg that shows they can alter life forms in colors. Blue is the color of Steve's clothes, white is the color of Herobrine's eyes. It's as if the evoker learned to bleach the eyes of a normal human in their experiment, draining all color and leaving only white. These are loose symbolic connections, but they enrich the theory's flavor. Illagers tampering with the very essence of life and color in Avengean gameplay. Though Herobrine isn't in the unmodded game, one could roleplay evidence for this theory. For instance, find a mansion and look at the Steve Wool statue. It has no eyes, just blank wool where the face's eyes would be. Some players have taken to placing 2 white blocks, or map pixels in that spot to simulate Herobrine's eyes, as if completing the experiment. Eerily, if you do set it up and then lightning strikes, save our trident with channeling enchantment, you can actually start a fire in the mansion. It's all just imagination. But players have scared themselves by doing a ritual in that wool statue room, with the totem of undying on an altar and a lightning flash, then pretending to see something. It's the community almost willing the theory into reality through roleplay. Some adventure maps and mods leaned into this concept. The famous adventure map Herobrine's Mansion, created by Happixel, literally places Herobrine as the master of a haunted mansion full of Illager-like creatures. While that was more of a fun use of the character than an exact telling of this theory, it shows how naturally the two can be associated. In that map's storyline, Herobrine is the big bad controlling the minions inside the mansion. The line between servant and master blurs as Herobrine controlling the Illagers or vice versa. The player's goal in that adventure is to defeat Herobrine, suggesting he's the one in charge of the Dark Forcer. So perhaps even if Illagers created Herobrine, he became greater than them, a Dark Lord in his own right. Implications and consequences. If Herobrine is a creation of the Illagers, it underscores a theme of betrayal and hubris. The Illagers betrayed their own kind villagers, and sought forbidden power in turn. They were betrayed by their own creation. It's poetic justice. Evil begets evil. For the world of Minecraft, it means humanity, or villager kind, is responsible for the greatest monster, not some external supernatural force. That's a common trope in horror and science fiction. We are the architects of our own worst nightmare. It also adds a layer of tragedy to Herobrine's existence. If he was made rather than born, one could argue he never asked for this life. He might have the mind of a confused new being, or the spliced memories of Steve, if the Illagers somehow tried to copy the player. One can imagine Herobrine wondering, struggling with existential anger. Why was I created? What am I? This could fuel a lot of his destructive behavior, lashing out like a wild animal because he knows no better, or because he resents being made as a tool. In that sense, the Illagers are the true villains, and Herobrine is their victim, as well as everyone else's. From the player's perspective, this theory can actually make confronting Herobrine feel more achievable. If he was created by in-game beings, maybe he can be destroyed by in-game means. Perhaps the key to stopping Herobrine would be hidden in the mansions. Maybe a secret ritual to undo the curse, or destroy the totem that bound his soul. It turns the Herobrine hunt into a quest. Find all the mansions and burn the wall effigies to weaken him. In a campaign-like storyline, one could imagine needing to collect multiple totems of undying, the very items that created him, and perform a reverse ritual at the altar, where he was born to finally end Herobrine's reign. While none of that is in standard Minecraft, fans have crafted such narratives in mods and fan fiction. The appeal is that it gives a sense of control over the Herobrine problem. A ghost or demon might be beyond our mortal ability to defeat permanently, but a golem or undead experiment, there might just be a way to fight that within the rules of the game. Finally, there is the question of motive. If we accept the Illager origin, what does Herobrine want? If he serves Illagers, his motive is their motive: destroy or subjugate players and villagers. If he's free, maybe he wants revenge on the Illagers, or perhaps lacking purpose, he's driven by a more primal goal, such as replacing the player. He might be trying to become the real Steve, like an evil twin seeking to usurp your position in the world. This drifts into another theory's territory: Herobrine as a dark reflection of the player. And indeed, there's an even more mind-bending idea waiting for us. What if Herobrine's origins are not in Illager labs or ghostly miners, but directly tied to you, the player? Before we confront that existential possibility, we have one more classic interpretation to explore, one that portrays Herobrine not as anyone's pawn or creation, but as a primordial evil that predates and surpasses all. The demon of Minecraft, Herobrine as ancient evil. Now we turn to one of the darkest interpretations of all: Herobrine as a demonic entity, an ageless evil that predates the player, and even the world itself. In this theory, Herobrine isn't a person or a glitch at all, but the Minecraft equivalent of the devil, a malevolent force or eldritch being that takes the form of a player to wreak havoc. All the haunting signs, the sightings, the powers attributed to him come together as the profile of a dark god or devil figure lurking in the game's lore. If Steve is the hero of Minecraft, then Herobrine is the arch-villain, the final boss that isn't in the game but is always in the background of the story. Master of monsters. In many fan stories and servers, Herobrine is depicted as the literal king of all hostile mobs. Zombies, skeletons, creepers, they all answer to him. He's the one pulling the strings, explaining why the monsters seem to unerringly home in on the player every night. Imagine the creepers as his personal kamikaze soldiers, or the endermen as his watchers, their glowing eyes in the dark, not unlike his. This paints a picture of Herobrine as a dark lord, sitting upon a throne perhaps deep in the nether or atop the end spire, orchestrating attacks on the overworld. Every time you survived a horde of zombies at your door, perhaps it was a test by Herobrine, or merely him playing with you, like a cat toying with prey. Cult and summoning rituals. The community's fascination with Herobrine has led to numerous rituals purported to summon him, eerily echoing how one might summon a demon in folklore. Perhaps unwittingly, players created a kind of cult of Herobrine. Guides popped up, claiming that if you built a shrine of certain blocks and performed a ritual, you could bring Herobrine into your world. Typically, these shrines involve gold blocks and netherrack with redstone torches, essentially offering gold wealth and blood redstone, and lighting the hellish fire. Netherrack burns eternally. Mossy cobblestone is sometimes included, an interesting touch as it represents old decayed structures, perhaps symbolizing ancient ruins or jungles, the demonic old world. Of course, in reality these do nothing in vanilla Minecraft, but the very existence of such rituals in the community's collective consciousness is telling. Players genuinely approached Herobrine like a demon to be conjured or exorcised. Over the years, players have constructed innumerable Herobrine summoning altars. A typical Herobrine summoning shrine, built by fans. 4 gold blocks form a base, topped with a piece of netherrack set ablaze. Redstone torches at each corner complete the ritual site. Countless players have constructed altars like this in hope or fear of summoning the elusive spirit. In some popular YouTube videos, creators would perform these rituals and then use mods or editing to make Herobrine appear, fueling the myth. Kids around the world would mimic these steps in their own game, half hoping, half dreading that it might actually work. It's like a digital age version of saying Bloody Mary in front of a mirror. The legend is so strong that it compelled players to act it out. That in itself reinforces Herobrine's status as a mythic demon. He became the subject of pseudo-religious practice inside a video game community, ancient and eldritch. Some theories propose that Herobrine is an eldritch horror, perhaps one of the original beings of the Minecraft universe. Maybe long before villagers and players, before creepers even, there was a being of pure chaos sealed away. The strongholds with their end portals might have been built to lock up an ancient dragon, which they did, but maybe also to keep Herobrine out of the overworld. One fanciful interpretation is that Herobrine was the dark god worshipped or feared by the ancient builders. When the builders tried to rid themselves of this evil, they sealed it in the void or between dimensions. However, pieces of Herobrine's influence could still seep through, hence the hauntings. And when players in the modern era started digging around and exploring, they may have weakened those seals, opening nether portals, entering the end. Each boss defeated, each dimension conquered, inadvertently brought down barriers meant to contain something worse. If that's the case, Herobrine might be growing stronger as the player progresses. Perhaps that's why Mojang once stopped mentioning removed Herobrine for a while, after 1.16. In lore terms, by then Herobrine was truly free, and could not be removed by normal means. That's a meta inconsistency turned into a narrative, pure fan fabrication, but fun to think about. True form. What if the wide-eyed Steve form is not Herobrine's true appearance? There's speculation that it's just a disguise or an avatar he uses to approach and psychologically unsettle the player. Some recent lore digging by fans uncovered that the very first Wide Eyes entity story referred to it with female pronouns and described a more monstrous figure lurking in the shadows. This has led to theories that Herobrine can shapeshift or has multiple forms. Perhaps in the deep dark of the world, away from prying eyes, Herobrine appears as a terrifying creature, something with too many limbs or an Enderman-like tall spectre with white voids for eyes. His human shape could be a choice, maybe mocking the player by reflecting their own form back at them, or luring them into a false sense of familiarity before striking. In creepypasta fashion, some have described Herobrine's true form as a giant spider-humanoid hybrid, or a withered corpse of a miner with glowing eyes and a gaping mouth. There's no consensus, of course, but the core idea is that what we see is not necessarily what Herobrine, much like Pennywise from Stephen King's It takes different forms to scare its victims. Herobrine could be an amorphous sphere given pixelated shape. The blank eyes are in a way a brilliant canvas for our worst imaginings. Without pupils, they're not tied to any specific real creature. Most Minecraft mobs have distinct eye designs, so they feel alien. Unstoppable evil. Unlike the ghost or human origin theories where you might hope to placate or defeat Herobrine by some understanding, the demon theory posits Herobrine as near unstoppable. You can't kill what isn't truly alive. You can't remove him because he's not a bug. He's a feature of reality's dark side. This makes Herobrine a constant threat. A bit like Sauron from The Lord of the Rings. You can beat back his armies, mobs, but he himself lurks, ever present, waiting for a chance to return. It sets the stage for an eternal battle between the player, representing creation, building light, and Herobrine destruction, corruption, darkness. Some fan mods embrace this by making Herobrine an actual boss that you can never permanently kill. For instance, in one mod, if you defeat Herobrine, he disappears in a flash of lightning with a message like Herobrine will remember this. Or he laughs, implying he'll be back. The idea is you can't have a world without the threat of Herobrine as long as evil exists. The apocalypse scenario. Let's delve into a hypothetical culmination of this storyline. Picture your Minecraft world after you've conquered everything. Built grand castles, slain the Ender Dragon, tamed the Nether. One day, the sky turns red. Thunderstorms rage continuously. Mobs no longer wait for night. They pour out of the forests and hills in broad daylight. A vast army. At the horizon you see it, a silhouette of a man with glowing eyes, marching at the head of the horde. It's Herobrine, leading an end-of-days assault on the world. You rally with your wolves, your iron golems, maybe even other players, if this were a multiplayer lore, for a final stand. It's an all-out war, the kind every Minecraft player imagines when they fortify their base, with lava moats and TNT traps. In this final battle, every crafty trick you learned is put to use against the limitless forces of Herobrine. Such a scenario has been the subject of countless fan animations and YouTube tributes. It's the stuff of legend. The hero, Steve or Alex, versus the Demon King, Herobrine. Some depict Herobrine wielding command over even the Ender Dragon, perhaps having resurrected it, or summoning giant withers to fight by his side. The world itself becomes corrupted under his influence, grass dying, water turning to blood. It's Minecraft turned into a literal hellscape. While this is obviously not how the actual game goes, these dramatic narratives serve a purpose. In the community, they give a sense of an ultimate challenge, a reason behind all your preparation. Why do you build that obsidian bunker with dispensers and stockpile? Enchanted weapon. Maybe, just maybe, for the day Herobrine's forces come knocking. It's a fun way to give your sandbox adventures a larger meaning, even if only in your imagination. Fear and the unknown. Emotionally, the demon theory taps into pure primal fear. This is Herobrine as the boogeyman, the ancient evil that cannot be reasoned with. It heightens the sense of isolation and vulnerability in the game. When mining alone at night with strange noises echoing, believing in Demon Herobrine can send real chills down your spine. It's the feeling of being an unwitting participant in a cosmic battle between good and evil. Your simple block game becomes a battleground of souls. There's also a theme of temptation that can be woven in. Think of the devil tempting humans. Some players jokingly or seriously claim that Herobrine whispered to them to do bad things in game, like burn a village or dig straight down, a famously bad idea. Of course, it's just their own mischievous thoughts for fun, but they frame it as Herobrine egging them on. This mirrors how devils are said to corrupt humans by suggestion. In a sense, Herobrine could be that little devil on the player's shoulder, always encouraging destruction for his amusement. Endless cycle. Since Mojang never confirms any of this, the Demon Herobrine story is by design never ending. He is never truly gone. This is reflected by the running joke, removed Herobrine in the patch notes. Every time the developers remove him, he creeps back in later, requiring removal again. Symbolically, that's exactly how a sealed ancient evil would operate. You think it's gone, only for it to return when the stars align, or the next update drops. Even in the recent Minecraft version 1.20, after many years of silence, they snuck in another removed Herobrine note, as if acknowledging that his spectre still looms. For believers of the demon theory, that was like a wink that said, he's still around. And indeed, as long as the game exists, and fans remember the legend, Herobrine will still be around. You can't patch away an idea. This grand, sinister depiction of Herobrine undoubtedly makes for great storytelling, an adrenaline-pumping imagination, but it also paints him as a distant, otherworldly force. Part of Herobrine's appeal is that he feels personal. He looks like a player. He interacts directly with you. The demon concept might explain why he's everywhere and unkillable, but it doesn't necessarily explain why he specifically targets the player in such personal ways. Signs, messages, stalking one-on-one. For that, we might need to look at the one remaining theory. The possibility that Herobrine is not some external devil at all, but rather something intimately tied to the player themselves. Perhaps the darkest secret of Herobrine is that he is another version of you, the player's shadow. Herobrine is your alter ego. After exploring Herobrine as an external force, be it ghost, demon, or experiment, we arrive at a truly mind-bending possibility. Herobrine is not separate from you at all. What if Herobrine is actually the player's own shadow, a reflection or echo of your character? In this theory, the wide-eyed figure represents another version of the player, whether it's a past self, a future self, a subconscious manifestation, or a literal dark twin. This concept takes the phrase, "We've met the enemy and he is us," to a literal place. It's a theory that can make you question your avatar's identity every time you press F5 to see your character model. The twin brother you never knew. The simplest variant of this idea is that within the Minecraft world's lore, your character, often dubbed Steve or Alex, had a brother, an identical twin in appearance, who is now gone. This ties back to the original legend, calling Herobrine the deceased brother of Notch. But instead of Notch, who is an out-of-game creator figure, we apply it to the player character. In a sense, Herobrine could be the brother of Steve, explaining why the two look the same. Imagine a backstory. Two brothers, or friends, enter a dangerous cave. Only one returns alive. The survivor is the player, and the fallen becomes Herobrine. With his dying breath, or in the afterlife, the brother swears to protect, or perhaps punish the survivor, depending on the drama. The scenario is tragic, losing a loved one, and adds personal stakes to every Herobrine encounter. It's not just a random ghost, it's family. Some fan fictions and animations have run with this narrative, giving Herobrine a name and humanizing him. In those, Herobrine often started as a normal person, just like the player, but death or betrayal twisted him. For instance, one story might have Herobrine and Steve fighting side by side in a great war. Herobrine sacrifices himself to save Steve from a creeper, and as he dies, exposure to magic or some curse brings him back as a spirit. He then follows Steve invisibly, at first to protect him, but over time grows jealous that Steve gets to live while he does not, leading him to become an antagonistic force. It's a classic brother's tragedy, with themes of betrayal, feeling abandoned, and desire for redemption. Perhaps Herobrine hopes Steve can free him from undeath. In this interpretation, confronting Herobrine has high emotional weight. It's not about banishing an evil demon. It's about forgiving or reconciling with the past. Perhaps Herobrine's ghost just wants acknowledgement. Remember me, and that's why he stalks you. Or maybe he blames you. It should have been you who died, and thus seeks vengeance. Either way, it's intensely personal. The alternate self, a step further, is the idea that Herobrine is you in another reality or timeline. Minecraft worlds are infinite, and each save is its own universe. The player hops between these universes, each new world you create. Now, picture a world where you didn't survive. Maybe in one hardcore world, your player died permanently in a mineshaft with an inventory full of diamonds and unfulfilled dreams. That world gets deleted, or abandoned. But what if some imprint of your player remained there, unable to move on? Now when you generate a new world, that bitter ghost might hitch a ride, manifesting as Herobrine, the memory of a player who used to be you. It's almost like a multiverse theory. Every time a player dies without respawn, or a world is erased, a Herobrine is born, an echo of the player character that drifts through the code until it finds a new world to inhabit. This can explain why Herobrine often appears to single players. It is a single player in a sense lost between worlds. It could also explain the eerie knowledge Herobrine seems to have about the game and the player's actions. He's done all this before, as a player himself. He remembers building, mining and dying. And now he lurks as a phantom, watching another player retrace those steps. There's a sadness to this. Herobrine might yearn to be part of the game again, but he can only watch. Consider how, in single-player Minecraft, you technically are alone. But if Herobrine is active, suddenly the game feels like multiplayer with just one other person. The twist here is that this other person is a mirror. It's as if the game spawned a second instance of the player that's not under your control. Some glitchy situations have indeed yielded ghost players. For example, a well-known Minecraft bug can show a player's old username lingering on a server after they disconnect, or a duplication glitch might produce a copy of the player's character momentarily. People have screenshot shadowy copies of themselves due to lag or bugs, fueling the idea that under rare circumstances, you might literally encounter yourself. Herobrine could be a personification of these doppelganger moments, a literal ghost player, split personality, the Jekyll and Hyde effect. One very psychological take is that Herobrine and the player are the same being, but the player isn't aware of it. In this scenario, all those tunnels and pyramids truly were made by Herobrine, but Herobrine was actually you sleepwalking or entering some altered state. Think of it like Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. By day, you're the normal builder. By night, or when you're not looking, you become the grief. This is obviously not something the game supports literally, but as a thought experiment, it means Herobrine represents the player's own capacity for destruction. Have you ever done something chaotic in your world, like set dynamite everywhere, just to see what happens? Perhaps players project that destructive impulse onto Herobrine. I didn't wreck my own build. Herobrine did. In universe, one could imagine the player character suffering from loneliness, or an ancient curse, causing blackouts where Herobrine takes over and does deeds that the player only finds evidence of later, like missing items or new structure. This view makes Herobrine a part of the player's identity. He becomes the Jungian shadow self, all the impulses and traits the player suppresses: fear, aggression, curiosity beyond safety, given form. It's a bit meta, but in a game where you can either create or destroy, perhaps Herobrine is the avatar of destruction that balances the creator in you, breaking the fourth wall. Some theories even blur the line between the game and reality, suggesting Herobrine is an embodiment of the player outside the game. When you play Minecraft, you, the real person, control Steve, but you're not literally in the world. Herobrine could represent the ghost in the machine of the player, a projection of the real you inside the game world that isn't under the game's control. This is very abstract, but imagine that Herobrine is what the villagers or mobs see when they look at the player. Some terrifying, godlike entity that builds and destroys without rhyme or reason, appearing and vanishing, logging in and out. To NPCs, players are kind of like Herobrine. We come from nowhere, cause chaos and disappear. So perhaps Herobrine is a myth from the NPC's perspective about the player. There's a fan joke that villagers must tell ghost stories about the human who comes and takes their crops and moves their beds, possibly casting the player as the boogeyman. One fan theory on a forum humorously suggested that when you see Herobrine, it's actually your own character model rendering in the distance due to some bizarre glitch. Essentially, you are seeing yourself from outside your body, a Matrix-like out-of-body experience. While that's not known to happen in code, the idea is existentially creepy. The game tries to show you who you really are. The wake-up theory. Perhaps the wildest spin on this personal connection is the notion that Minecraft itself is a kind of dream or purgatory for the player character, and Herobrine is the harbinger of reality trying to break through. Recall that hoax webpage Ghost in the Stream with the torture victim story. It suggested that the world might be a fabrication in a catatonic mind. In that context, Herobrine's messages stop, or by extension wake up, can be seen as the player's own mind, urging them to return to reality. Some have extended that to say, what if you, the player, are actually Herobrine when you're not playing the character? Perhaps Steve Alex is the dream persona, and Herobrine is the real persona trying to end the illusion. This crosses into metaphorical territory, Herobrine being the part of you that knows this is a game, basically breaking the fourth wall from inside the game. It's very meta and not a commonly embraced theory in the community. It originated as an art project ARG, more than a fan theory, but it's fascinating because it flips everything. The scary Herobrine in the world is actually trying to free you, the player, from being trapped in a game. Suddenly Herobrine is the good guy and you are the one asleep. It doesn't make for a fun, spooky story in the traditional sense, but it does make you think about the relationship between player and game. In a way, it's saying Herobrine is the embodiment of the truth, a glimmer of reality intruding on the fantasy of Minecraft. Internal conflict and resolution. The alter ego theory in any form makes Herobrine's story into an internal conflict. It's not hero versus monster, it's hero versus self, or past versus present. This opens up thematic threads of redemption and self-discovery. If Herobrine is essentially a part of the player, then defeating Herobrine could symbolically mean coming to terms with one's guilt, fear, or darker impulses. Perhaps the way to end Herobrine's haunting isn't a sword or a command, but personal growth, or an act of closure. For example, a roleplay solution might be build a grave for your lost friend brother to put his spirit to rest, or place all your collected nether stars, symbols of conquering evil, into a shrine to symbolically quell the ultimate evil within. It's poetic and abstract, fittingly, since we're in the realm of speculation and metaphor, but it gives a satisfying conclusion to Herobrine's tale that no amount of combat can achieve. In fact, some servers and adventure maps that include Herobrine as a character often end with a twist. You find out you were Herobrine all along. Maybe a character shows you a mirror with white eyes, or Herobrine possesses you when defeated. These dramatic flourishes come straight from the trope handbook, but they resonate because deep down the idea of being one's own worst enemy is a classic human fear. Eternally yours. If Herobrine is part of the player, then as long as players have imagination, Herobrine will exist. This theory underscores how much Herobrine lives in our collective minds and not in the code. We carry him from world to world, not just as a ghost story we tell, but as a story we're actively living. In a way, every time a player enters a new world and experiences that mix of excitement and fear, that's Herobrine's legacy manifesting internally. So when you see a shadow in your peripheral vision in the game and spin around to nothing, you have to wonder, was that Herobrine watching? Or was it just you? Perhaps it's both. The legend of Herobrine blurs the line between character and player, between game and imagination. And that is arguably why it's so powerful, because Herobrine can be whatever we need him to be in our story. A villain, a warning, a friend, a part of ourselves. After journeying through all these theories ranging from psychological tricks, to deep lore conspiracies, to cosmic and introspective interpretations, one thing becomes clear. Herobrine is a mirror, hold it up, and it reflects our fears, creativity and desire for story. Whether he's a monster from the depths, or the face in the mirror, Herobrine's mystery endures because it ultimately tells us something about ourselves as players and storytellers. Herobrine may have started as a hoax, but over the years he has evolved into something far more profound, a modern myth. Through each theory we explored, we saw how players took a simple idea, a mysterious figure with white eyes, and wove it into many forms. Whether Herobrine is a figment of our imagination, or we are a figment of his, he embodies the creativity and mystery that make Minecraft more than just a game of blocks. What's truly remarkable is that all these conflicting theories coexist in the community. Minecraft has no official story about Herobrine, so the fans became the storytellers. In doing so, they turned an empty space in the lore into an expansive universe of possibilities. We have Herobrine, the hallucination, reminding us of the loneliness of a solo adventure. We have Herobrine, the ghost, giving the world a history and a haunting moral about greed and tragedy. We have Herobrine, the guardian, adding nuance that even a nightmare can have a noble side. We have an artificial Herobrine born of villager hubris, a warning that power can create its own monster. We have Herobrine, the demon king, elevating our endgame fantasies into an epic battle of good versus evil. And finally, we have Herobrine as ourselves, a metaphor for introspection and the blurred line between player and game. Each theory casts a new light on the lore of Minecraft, turning the simple sandbox into a stage for grand tales of destiny, betrayal, and redemption. Herobrine's enduring allure comes from this richness. Players can choose the story that speaks to them, or even combine them. One might believe Herobrine was an Illager creation who became a demon. Another might think he's a vengeful spirit who occasionally helps those he deems worthy. There's no wrong answer, and that's the magic. Herobrine is every story and none, all at once. He's a product of our collective imagination, yet he feels as real as any programmed mob in the game. The impact of this legend is visible. Mojang might play coy, hiding jokes in changelogs and scattering Easter eggs, but they know Herobrine is an integral part of the Minecraft experience. New players often learn about the myth from friends or videos as almost a rite of passage. Don't dig straight down, don't look an Enderman in the eye, and if you see white eyes in the fog, run. Herobrine has been featured in countless fan creations, mods that allow you to summon or fight him, adventure maps that pit you against his minions, YouTube series with millions of views chronicling Herobrine sightings, songs and creepypasta reading, even merchandise and inside jokes at Minecon. In a sense, the community did what the Illager theory posits. They created Herobrine not from code and wool, but from imagination and shared storytelling. So will we ever know the truth? The logical answer: yes. The truth is that Herobrine was an invented character, and there is no secret entity lurking in the code. But looking at all we've uncovered, that logical answer almost feels irrelevant. The meaning of Herobrine is far more significant than his factual status. In an interview, Minecraft creator Notch once said he has never ever seen anything that even remotely resembles Herobrine, then quipped that maybe players were just seeing things. He's right, of course, but also wrong. Players did see something. They saw an opportunity to tell a story, and they took it. They saw Herobrine in every eerie noise and empty mineshaft because they wanted to, or maybe even needed to. Stories bring communities together, and the Herobrine myth united the Minecraft community in a shared mystery that anyone could contribute to. As we conclude this journey through Herobrine's lore, one might ask which theory is my favorite. Perhaps it's best to keep that a mystery. Part of the fun is not knowing, is imagining that any of them could be true when the lights are low, and your mind wandered maybe in some deep corner of a fragmented Minecraft realm. Herobrine is all of these things at once, a lonely ghost with a heart of gold, possessed by an ancient evil, who occasionally remembers he was once a player. It sounds crazy, but in a world of infinite possibilities, who's to say it can't be? Missed the last words. Who's to say it can't be? In the end, Herobrine thrives on the question mark. The legend lives on. Every time a player gets a shiver and wonders what if, as long as there are dark caves to explore and imagination to fill them, Herobrine will be there. He'll be watching from the fog, waiting in the flicker of the torchlight, an eternal enigma that turns our simple block game into a place of myth and magic. And truth be told, Minecraft wouldn't be the same without its ghost in the machine. So next time you're mining diamonds or walking through a thick forest at dusk, take a moment to appreciate the legend. That little prickle on the back of your neck when you think you saw something. That's Herobrine, keeping the world of Minecraft just a bit more mysterious, a bit more exciting. In the story of Minecraft that we all collectively write, Herobrine will forever be the chapter that never truly closed. After all, how do you end a legend that's never officially begun? Could it be that the greatest trick Herobrine ever pulled was convincing us he's out there, when in fact he's been inside us, the players all along? One thing is for certain, Herobrine's legacy looms large. He will continue to inspire theories, debates, fear and wonder, and as long as players keep asking questions and spinning tales, Herobrine will never. In the limitless sandbox of Minecraft, he has achieved a sort of digital immortality, haunting us in the best possible way, through imagination. Herobrine is the story we never stop telling, an unresolved mystery that makes the Minecraft universe feel alive. And that, more than anything, is why fans will revisit and cherish this legend for years to come, ever watchful for those two glowing white eyes in the dark.